We're sitting in a very wet field in Shropshire. I don't know if you can see that there. And what better way to spend a wet day in Shropshire than to talk about my 10 favourite changes that we have in Merlin, or changes, adaptations, things that make our life just a little bit easier. Graham did his mods a few weeks back. He's just being silly and making me laugh. I'm hoping I won't have to redo this. But yes, I'm going to do my top 10. And you'll have to see which ones you think I might like best, but I'll take you through them and we'll have to decide which one's going to be the favourite. So here they are, starting at number 10. Occasionally we do travel with Merlin with his seats as seats and not as a bed. And obviously when you're trying to travel in that way, but you need to take bedding with you, you need to think about the size of everything and how you're going to pack it. So what we've decided to do is we've gone for bamboo quilts, because although they're as warm as either feather or holofill quilts, they're actually about half as thick. They're really thin. They feel they're a little bit heavier perhaps, but they're almost like, well, as I say, I don't know if you can see in the video, they're a lot thinner. They don't puff up as much. So as a consequence of that, you get all of the heat, but not all of the bulk. So if we wanted to store these, we can roll them up really small because they're not as fluffy as normal quilts. But they definitely keep you nice and toasty. It's been really useful having extra shelves. They would definitely have to go on my list, the extra shelves that Graham has put in Merlin. For example, we've got this one which is above the hob. We don't have a microwave in our CV. We've got storage, but the storage was really tall, so you could put sort of tall bottles of oil and things in there, but we don't tend to carry things like that very much. So what we've got here is basically a tea and coffee cupboard, and a bit of pasta, and all the teas and the sugar and everything's at the top here, and spare tea and pasta and whatnot is at the bottom. And on the other side, Graham's done the same thing, but we keep our cups and also all our herbs and spices. And Graham actually did measure the height for these particular jars, so we didn't waste any space, and they are 2 deep. So got lots of options there. You can store sort of at least 10 of these little jars. And the reason for these little rubber bands around them is to stop them rattling and clunking together when we're driving, and they seem to work quite well. But I'd have to say these shelves really have made this storage work really well. One thing lots of us realise when we have campers is you do have to be really clever with storage, and I really like this idea of Graham's, and we use this a lot. And you have to be careful because there's all the heating ducts under there, but what he's done, he's put a shelf in here for our shoes. So shoes often get left lying around in the van, but we don't really need to do that now, because you can easily fit 2 or 3 pairs in the top shelf, and we can tuck I think Graham's got a pair of walking shoes in there, or our slippers go in there. So most of the shoes that we would need for a trip fit in this little cupboard and are nicely tucked away. So this shelf, I would say, is as useful as the one for the spices. I think the best mods that have been done in the bathroom have to be these spring-loaded rails that you get. Sometimes you can use them for showers. In fact, we have got a big one here on the roof, and they don't damage the walls. You can, because they're sprung-loaded, they're quite firm, but they just literally use pressure to hold them to the wall. And the same goes for the little guys here. They're just a baby version, and you can, in fact, I think, cut them down to a certain extent so that they fit exactly where you need them to go. And we like using these because they enable us to use this sort of storage when we're traveling. We don't have to put all of these things away. They stay quite safe while we're moving along. And as for the big rail, we use that for hanging wet washing. So if the weather's bad, you could hang things to dry. If you put the heating on, there's a blower in the cloakroom area, and so your coats would dry, or tea towels. So yeah, it's great for drying wet coats, etc. Perfect. Next on my list is something that we find in this little cupboard. You can probably see, before I explain what it is that's in this cupboard that I like so much, that these are the valves and for the water heater and the water, and we have to protect them. So this was a bit of a dead space, so there's a shelf that Graham's put in so he can store this thing here, which is my pride and joy. This comes out sometimes when we're on electric hookup, but as we generally don't pay for extra for electricity, we prefer to be off grid, as you know, if you've watched our vlogs. This is an induction hob, and yeah, we use this quite a lot because it's very flexible, and it's also very dusty, sorry about the dust, but yeah, you can use it for lots of different things, for cooking, boiling kettles, etc. So here's the induction hob in action. It's on 500 watts at the moment, and when we're on inverter, so when we're not actually when we're using our batteries and not using electric hookup, that tends to be the maximum that we use. It can cope with 800. We're on electric hookup at the moment, so it should be fine. But in fact, this hob goes up to 1.5 kilowatts, so 1500 watts. But we don't ever use it on that. We wouldn't want to trip the site electricity. But at the moment, as you can see, it's on 800. You can set a timer. Not that I've ever used that. And even regulate the temperature. So it's quite intelligent, but we use it a lot when we're off grid because solar charges up the lithium batteries, and obviously when we drive Merlin, that charges the batteries as well, and we'd rather have free power if it's available. I don't know if you can hear the kettle's gradually heating up. You can hear it pulsing in and out. That's how induction hobs work. The higher the power, the more they pulse in and out. But this is definitely has to be on my top 10. Those of you who follow us on YouTube will know that we travel around with our two little dogs, Maya and Luna. And one of Luna's favourite places is either to sit on the driver's seat or the passenger seat. She really likes sitting on there. And as you can see, the upholstery is quite light, and little muddy dogs and light furnishings don't really go too well. So what we've got here are these vegetarian leather, probably PU leather, is it? Seat covers just for the base of the seat, and they're really good because you can just wipe them down, and they're really comfortable. And they've got these two handy little pockets at the front where you can store your phone if you want to, or a map, so that's quite useful too. And we can put a cover on there if we want to. If the dog wants a blanket, she gets a blanket on there. But yeah, that really does help to keep the seats clean, because as I say, you can just wipe them down and it's all done. Something that has revolutionised our packing when we go away in Merlin are these cubes that you can get from Amazon. They're excellent. They fold into almost next to nothing, but you can pack loads in them. They are sort of water resistant on most sides, but then they're ventilated on the top, so that's quite handy as well. And they have very long zips which go all the way around. I don't know if I can do this one handedly, but Probably not actually. I'll have a go. So you can get the idea. So you can pack lots of things in there. It all compresses down and fits really nicely in the overhead lockers. And we just find that since we've been using these, our clothes don't seem to spread about all over the place in the cupboards. And if you're organised and you have certain ones for certain things, then you'll always be able to grab the bag that you need. So for example, I would use these big bags for things like t-shirts and jeans and fleeces, and the smaller bags I would use for socks and underwear and things like that. And I think in each set you get 2 of the large ones, 2 of the small sort of medium ones, and there are 2 smaller ones as well, which you could use for cosmetics if you wanted. And there's actually one for shoes too, with a handle on it, and I think they're about £10, and you get, as I say, you get 2 large, 2 medium, 2 small, and a shoe one. And we've rarely needed to use all of them, even when we've been away for a good few days, because you can literally pack so much in them. And what we do is we keep one of these large ones for our dirty laundry as well, which we can keep separate, and it all fits in. If you roll things up neatly, you can get loads of washing in there ready for when you go home. So we're thinking of actually buying some more of these for things like coats, so that on the overhead storage above the cab we can get organised there as well. I think these pop-up bowls have to be just one of the best inventions. We've got them for pasta as well, so colanders too. But they take up very little room, and then when you pop them up, they can, they can be really useful. We've got 3 different sizes: a rectangular one, which we tend to use for draining dishes, and 2 round ones. And the smallest round one, which I've got in my hand here, actually fits nicely in the sink. Takes up no room at all when it's put away, and it's just fantastic. We were quite happy to sacrifice our wardrobe in Merlin for extra storage, because the clothes we wear are pretty relaxed. We don't need hanging space. It's more important to us to have space for storage, especially if we go away for any great length of time. And this cupboard is brilliant. Graham actually put in a shelf here which goes all the way back to the back of the cupboard and allows me to put in a really big saucepan and bits and pieces, shopping bags. Sometimes there's kitchen roll at the back, and you can store a lot on that shelf. And also these shelves are ones that we bought from Argos. They weren't very expensive, and they've been brilliant because they fit perfectly and they hold a lot of stuff. So we can put lots and lots, it's a bit like a larder. We can just put lots of food and snacks and things in these drawers. So there's 4 drawers. And we can store extra water in front because they fit and leave space. You can get lots in them, but lots around them. So like a big cornflake box fits in, and we've got 3 pop-up washing bowls here, and they all fall down really small. And this all just fits in very neatly to what would have been our wardrobe. For me, this is the most important power socket in the van. It's the inverter, and it means that when we're not on electric hookup, we can still have power to appliances, which are the power supplied by our lithium batteries, which are charged by a solar panel or by Merlin as he's driving along, or you can obviously charge the batteries if you do have electric hookup at home or on a site. So what this enables me to do is to use the induction hob, but it also allows me to use things like an instant pot, which is only 700 watts, and it's a pressure cooker as well, so it's a really efficient way of cooking. It allows me to use a toaster, and in fact we've also got a baby George. We don't always bring everything with us every time. We look at the sort of holiday that we're going to do, and then we bring those appliances with us. But the baby George is great. It does fantastic burgers and crumpets and things like that, and obviously toast is good for toast. And the Instant Pot does great stews, and the all-rounder of course is the Induction hob, which does a lot of different things. I really like this modification. It's been a game changer for both Graham and myself actually, because we often travel, having a CV40, we often travel with the bed made up. It's just a lot easier, and we don't really miss the seating at the back of the van when it's just the two of us. But the real game changer for us is this 2-inch memory foam mattress topper, because those of you who've got the van, and other kinds of van in fact, will know that these cushions can be really uncomfortable when you're trying to sleep. They're very bumpy. So this chunky 2-inch mattress topper with I've just put a duvet cover over it, is brilliant. And in fact we have another 1-inch one on top as well, so in total we've got like 3 inches of memory foam, and it feels lovely, as if you know, almost as comfortable as our bed at home. Thank you for watching, and by the time you've got to this point in the vlog, you'll realise that it's the memory foam mattress topper that is number one, because for me it's made such a difference. Before we had it, we had the thinner memory foam, and we both struggled to sleep in Merlin, maybe managing 6 or 7 hours at the most. But since we've had that, we sleep as well as we would at home. It's just made it so much more comfortable. So if we go away for longer trips, you know, we're going to be comfortable. And given that I have a bad back, I think, you know, that's really made such a difference. I can't take credit for all of these changes that have been done in Merlin. Some of the ideas have come from other people on the CV group that we belong to. For example, the drawers in the wardrobe. So thank you anyone whose ideas, if you're watching this and it's your idea that's in here, thank you very much for sharing it, because it's really helped us a lot. And also I'd be really interested to hear if any of you have got mods that you've done that have really sort of revolutionised your travelling in your vans, because we're always changing. I mean, we've got this 10 now, but probably in a few months, if you ask us again, we'll have changed the modifications and maybe added to our list. So we're always interested to hear what other people have done to their campers to make them more comfortable and to make them work better. Catch you next time.